as a second part of pre-bottling adjustment, I want to talk to you about mouthfeel and profile adjustment. So let's go. So today we're going to talk about balance. So balance and mouthfeel. So what are the components of wine mouthfeel and the interactions that will make a wine more or less balanced with a good mouthfeel? How to balance this mouthfeel? And some practical tools for you to take away. So we'll try to understand the role of finding agents in profile adjustment and see how finding agent can help adjusting the wine profile just before bottling. For example, if you have any issues, any bitterness, or any one you want to adjust, finding agent can be useful for this. We will also talk about polysaccharides in wine, how they can enhance mouthfeel, as well as tannin, how tannin management can ensure your wine will have a better ageability and can create a better texture in your wine. And then we will end the presentation with question and answer and discussion. So if you have any questions, please write your question in the Q&A part. I will be happy to answer them by the end of the presentation. So, first of all, when we talk about wine balance and mouthfeel and their interaction, it really depends on every wine. So, style and quality of wine is partially determined by mouthfeel, which includes the sensation of different components, but it's really impacted by every vintage. So it really depends on the terroir, the climate, the practice in the vineyards, the winemaking choices, the vintage conditions. But for example, if you're using new barrels, if you're using oak or specific yeasts, or so there are a lot of different components that can impact and influence the wine mouthfeel. The perception of a balanced wine is very subjective, and it really varies between people, even from day to day, but the goal remains the same. It's to create an harmony between sweetness, so volume, viscosity, acidity, and phenolic compounds. So these are the three components of mouthfeel, really in terms of mouthfeel. So sweetness, volume, viscosity, even in dry wines, is caused from carbohydrates, so sugars, polysaccharides, and ethanol. So ethanol, so alcohol can cause hotness perception or the contrary. Acidity does impact the mouthfeel, of course, and phenolic compounds such as tannins, they do impact the astringency, the dryness of a wine, or if it's flabby or not, for example. So in this presentation, we'll explore the concept of balance and how we can influence some of the components and how to create the best balance for you. If you think your wine is a little bit too acid, then you can counterbalance with more polysaccharides or increasing the viscosity or the sweetness perception. Same if you have a wine that is perceived a little too astringent, then we'll see how we can rebalance this. So a first tool would be fining. So with fining, we are actually removing some compounds compared to the other products we are going to talk about here. It's really removing and try to adjust a wine through fining. So fining is a very old technique. So fining is the process of adding a clarifying agent to wine, which coagulates and form flocks. Flocks are solid particles. These solid particles then settle to the bottom of your tank or barrel, carrying suspended particles and haze causing compounds with them, resulting in a clearer wine. So this process is not only removing visible suspended particles, but it also eliminates certain colloidal substance that can later cause cloudiness. So I didn't invent this definition. It's actually from the Enological Traité from Ribeiro Gaillon and Émile Penot from 1975. So it's a really old practices, but you'll see that the fining practices evolved. I'm sure you're probably familiar with egg white on red wine or isinglass on white wine. So the main objective of fining is to clarify, to decrease the turbidity and have or improve the filterability if you want to filter and have a more clear wine. But also it helps to maintain the clarity, so maintain the stability of a wine, anticipating the storage, the aging, but also the transportation of your wine. You will do different practices according to where your wine is consuming, when it is consuming, and where it goes. And then we'll also mainly focus on the secondary objectives of fining, which are fine-tuning and organoleptic perception. So if you want to rework the phenolic structure of a wine, the balance, the mouthfeel, some fining agents can be useful on wine pre-bottling or during the aging. But also if you have some off aromas or little defaults in your wine you want to fix. So there are a lot of different types of fining agents. For clarification, we would use more protein-based fining agents, such as isinglass. It's pretty classical. Pea protein or gelatin. That's products we can see in the winemaking world. For stabilization, bentonite is the most used fining agent for protein stability, but yeast derivatives also works well to help stabilize the color, improve protein stabilization too. You also have albumin, other tannins, PVPP, casein, pea protein that are also used fining agents. So when we focus on protein-based fining agents, we can define really two big groups. We have the protein fining agents based on animal products. They're obviously not vegan. They can be allergen, such as the isinglass or the albumin. Each of them have a different impact. So you would use, for example, albumin for color stability and to remove some tannins, astringency. So some people would a long time ago crack an egg in red wine barrels to remove some tannins, astringency, and soften a wine. But now we're transitioning with more natural-based products, non-animal products, such as pea protein or yeast derivatives or potato. At Lamothe-Abiet, we decided to focus on pea protein. Now it's been almost 15 years ago because it's a very versatile agent and work in a lot of different cases on a wine, but also on must. So you see it has a very good impact on oxidation to remove anything that could oxidates your wine, but also removing some tannins, but we have a lot of different options. So pea protein has been approved by the TTB in the US not a long time ago, so it's pretty new here. What is nice about pea protein finding agent is that it's natural, allergen-free, and vegan, so it meets the modern consumer demands, where people want to be more aware of what is in the wine. Vegan wine becomes a concern. People want to understand the labels a little bit more. It's very effective in terms of clarification. It ensures a good clarification and compacts the lees pretty well. So you're not losing too much wine while doing fining and sedimentation. It works very well on removing easy to oxidize polyphenols or oxidized phenolic compounds like quinones. So it has a similar action like PVPP or casein. We can see on this graph that compared to a control in black and using green fine must at 50 grams per hectoliters, so green fine must is our pure pea protein. You'll see that it really removes phenolic compounds and acid phenols that are oxidation support, would say, and phenolic compounds that are oxidized. So it helps to remove any components that can impact negatively your wine during aging or in bottle, for example, that could oxidize your wine and reduce the aromas perception, create some yellow shades. So a lot of different causes linked to oxidation. It also reduces astringency because it softens the tannins. It does remove some bitterness and some aggressivity. It can be comparable to albumin and gelatin. So it's also a very good vegan alternative to this kind of components. And also what is nice about pea protein is that it's not stripping the wine. And sometimes you can do an overfining and that can actually make a wine thinner. It does not. It's pretty respectful for the mouthfeel and the aromas. It really respects the complexity of wine. So we have two fining trials. So green fine must is our pure pea protein. This comparative trial was done on Grenache, rosé of Grenache. You can see that compared to PVPP, it's way more respectful for the wine, so you have more aromatic intensity, persistence of aromas, a little bit more volume and mouthfeel. It removed the bitterness compared to the PVPP, and it has been more impactful for oxidation. And on this trial, the amount of products was 50 grams per hectoliters for both green fine must and the PVPP. And then we also have a new product, which is the Green Fine Nature. It's a mix of pea proteins, yeast derivatives, and calcium bentonite. So we decided to create this mix to be more versatile and more complex. So adding yeast derivatives will help to clarify and work well on the mouthfeel. And calcium bentonite is the type of bentonite that clarifies and compacts the lees the most. So compared to sodium bentonite, the calcium bentonite is the clarifying one, and the sodium bentonite is the one that is the most efficient for protein stability. So you'll see that fining with Green Fine Nature on red wine helps to reduce astringency, bitterness, while keeping some volume, improving the length in the palate and aromatic intensity. So this was before bottling Pinot Noir. If you want to explore more about our fining agents solutions, we have in our brochures and online something we call Fining Finder. So it's just little help for you if you have any issues, anything you want to fine tune in your wines. We offer this kind of graph if you want to adjust your wine. So this is in our brochure. I attached it in the chat area. So this is for rosé or white wine. Same with red wine. If you have any questions, please let me know. I always suggest to try the fining agents before. To do some bench trial is very important, and then to blind test the samples is also very important, so you can really compare the different doses without being influenced by what you see. And every fining agent will work differently, and sometimes a year, for example, vintage 2023 on some Cabernet, one product will work, and then the year after it's going to be a total different product. So it's always very important to do some bench trials. So now, speaking of different winemaking tools to balance wine mouthfeel, I wanted to focus on polysaccharides because they can really interact with the wine, and especially with the phenolic compounds, and changing the balance of your wine, and work with acidity, tannins, and global balance of your wine. So what is a polysaccharide? So polysaccharides, as their name suggests, they are made up mostly of sugars or uronic acids. This is the largest concentration in wines. They're found in white wines at a concentration of 100 to 250 milligrams per liter, and in red wines up to 600 milligram per liters. So they're very abundant and diverse in the wine. They are in very large concentration, and they have very large actions in the wines. So first, they act as protective colloids, so they can impact and stabilize the color, the tartrates, and the protein. So they play a big role in wine stabilization. They can interact with phenolic compounds. We will see that a little bit later, to reduce the astringency perception in the mouth and improve the volume of wine. They also increase the sweetness sensation and the softness. And how to actually use these polysaccharides in the wine. So first, you can play with your grapes. There are a lot of polysaccharides in the skin of your grapes and also in the pulp. So you can try to extract them more, but also working with your lees will extract a lot of polysaccharides and manoproteins from the cell walls of your yeast. So this is why we do some batonnage after fermentation to release more polysaccharides during the autolysis of yeasts after fermentation. You can use exogenous polysaccharides from Arabic gum, for example, or from oak. So in oak, we find a lot of polysaccharides too that will help to build the mouthfeel and improve the sucrosity, for example, of wine. So in the family of polysaccharides, you have the manoproteins. So manoproteins is the second source of polysaccharides. It's 35% total of wine polysaccharides. They are big molecule. We can not find in the wall of yeast. So it's not from the grapes, but from the cell wall of yeast. You can see what is a manoprotein on this drawing. So there are 25 to 50% of the wall of Saccharomyces cerevisiae. They are a lot of different types of manoproteins, and they have different structures and roles. Their main enological role is that they are protective colloids. So this action will help to prevent protein haze. So using manoprotein can actually improve the stabilization of your wine. For example, if you're keeping your wine on lees for a longer time, you will see that you will require less bentonite, for example, or it will not even be subject to tartaric precipitation, because the manoproteins are here to help stabilize the wine. So it can inhibit crystallization of tartaric salts. So there are specific manoproteins for this. In Lamothe-Abiet, we have STAB-K, which is a manoprotein we use only for tartaric stabilization. It will very effectively avoid the precipitation of tartaric salts. So very convenient and helpful if you want to use a natural approach that is effective for a long time, forever in the bottle. It also improves foam stabilization in sparkling wine. That means that you will have better bubbles, and they will be more stable. It also acts as an aroma support, so it enhances the aromas and the aroma persistence in wine, white wine or red wine, doesn't matter. And also because it reduces bitterness and astringency, it also increases rottenness, volume, creaminess, and sweetness in the wines. And then last but not least, as it's acting as a protective colloid, it interacts with phenolic compounds and limits anthocyanin aggregation, so limits the color instability, so a better color intensity. So how to use these very useful molecules more. So you can definitely work with your lees, but if you can't really use your lees, or after fermentation, if you need a little bit more of this, we have some solutions. So first solution we have is manosense. So manosense is our pure yeast manoproteins, rich in HSP12 peptide. So this peptide is responsible for sucrosity in wine. So these specific manoproteins are specifically selected for mouthfeel. So we really worked with this product to actually have the best effect on roundness, sweetness perception, to reduce bitterness. So if you have a wine that is a little bit short or a little tart, that needs more mid-palate, or where the aromas feel a little bit muted, using manosense can help to actually have a better complexity and more volume. So this is what we see on these two graphs. So the first one was on a colombard compared to a control. So it added more volume, aromatic persistence. It reduces the bitterness. So basically, the wine is more balanced. And on Cabernet Sauvignon, it worked well to just improve the balance and the volume, the complexity, with reducing the bitterness. So this product can be used pre final filtration, pre-bottling, from 50 to 100 milliliters per hectoliters. I always suggest trying some samples on your wine to determine what is the best dose you need. We provide samples if you want. Another polysaccharide that can be useful for winemakers are Arabic gums. So Arabic gums have the strongest affinity with tannins. That means that you don't need to add a lot of Arabic gum to have this really big effect on mouthfeel and reducing the astringency. So on this graph, we see two different interactions between polysaccharides, tannins, and proteins. So proteins, salivary proteins and tannins, they form a complex, and this is what causes astringency and dryness. So actually adding Arabic gum, which is the little C on the drawing, it has two interactions. First interaction is that the polysaccharide is coating this complex between proteins and tannins, so it reduces the astringency perception because it's just coating. Or it creates directly a complex between the tannins and the polysaccharides, the Arabic gum, so there is no precipitation and no less sensation of astringency in the mouth. So this is how it works. So there are two different types of Arabic gum we can use in winemaking. So there is the Verec, which is more for stabilization or to enhance stabilization, such as color or protein stabilization. And the acacia sale. So sale Arabic gum is the gum we select for mouthfeel impact, to actually impact the wine balance. For example, to reduce the hotness perception of a wine that could be a little bit high in alcohol, or reduce the astringency or the acidity perception. In Lamothe-Abiet, we have a product called Excel Gum, which is pure selected sale. It will help to stabilize the color, but also reduce astringency perception, increase the sweetness and volume. This is a powder product, so it's not liquid, so it's very easy to use. And it's one of the most cost-effective solution. For example, if you have bulk wine or any wine that needs a little bit more complexity and mid-palate and sweetness. Then, last but not least, we wanted to explore what would be the result of a product combining Arabic gums and manoproteins, because manoproteins will work well on the aromatic complexity, enhancing the freshness and the aromas of a wine, and also work well on wine balance. But adding Arabic gum will also help to improve more softness and volume. So this is why Sublicens is very successful, because it combines perfectly the two, and it works very well on a lot of different situations to improve the volume, the length, the smoothness of a wine. I really like this product because it works well even at very low dosage. You can also use it before filtration, before the final filtration. You can use it before or after crossflow. And it works well if you have unripe or green characters or need more body, more weight, more roundness, but also if you want to reduce some astringent or dry finish. So we are very happy to send you some samples of the 3 products so you can actually try them if you have any bottling soon. If you want to fine-tune some wines, we have them available at BVNA. So second big family that play a big role on wine mouthfeel and balance. This is the family of tannins. So they are very important in winemaking. It's a huge family. So they are 2 big family. We have the hydrolysable tannins, like gallic and elagic tannins. So these are from oak or chestnut trees. They have a strong redox potential. They react well with sulfur of aromas, sulfur compounds, so they can also rebalance the redox potential. Same with the gallic tannins. So gallic tannins are usually used on grapes to avoid oxidation, to protect against botrytis, for example, and they react very well with proteins. And then we have the condensed tannins. So proanthocyanidins are the tannins we can find in the grapes, so grape skin and seeds mainly. They are the most effective for long-term color stability, but also rebalancing astringency and softness. They are also antioxidasic, meaning they inhibit enzymatic oxidation, and they also help with protein removal. So we can also find condensed tannins in the market from Quebracho or Mimosa, but they have a more impactful effect on the mouthfeel, on the tannins perception. So these are the different tannins we can find in winemaking. So still, when we think about balance, how to balance the acidity perception, the viscosity, sweetness perception, and the tannin structure and volume, we can use different tannins. So grape tannins are amazing to just build more mouthfeel, add some more mid-palate. It works very well to actually soften tannins because they have a very, very good polymerization potential. They stabilize the color because they polymerize and they connect with anthocyanins, and it also lifts the red fruit character. This is a tannin I really enjoy on Pinot Noir or on some overripe red wines to actually enhance more red fruit and more tannin complexity. It helps if you have lower phenolic maturity, for example. Then we have complex tannins. So these are tannins with polysaccharides. So it's the good compromise between a tannin and a polysaccharides, meaning that you're adding structure and oak, but without astringency. So it helps a lot with just finalizing, just as a little final touch before bottling. And pure oak tannins. At Lamothe-Abiet, we have 4 different French oak tannins. They have different properties, so I'm gonna talk about them a little later. So talking about grape tannins, so Vinyl Advance is our pure grape tannins. It has a high polymerization potential. So actually, adding this tannin to the wine will reduce the astringency perception. I know that it doesn't look very logical, but actually, because this added tannin will polymerize, the wine will be perceived as more soft. And as you see on this graph, adding 5 or 10 grams per hectoliters actually reduces the SPI, which is the saliva protein index, which is the astringency perception, how your salivary proteins react with the tannins. So you will need a little bit of time with this tannin if you really want to reduce the astringency. Usually it's a month, so you can add it during aging to build more volume, density, and reduce the dryness perception of tannins. So it does improve the phenolic potential of wine. It's just adding more grape tannin to your wine. And it boosts fruitiness, so fresh fruit. So you can use it at pressing if you want to anticipate the aging, but also during aging or pre-bottling. It works on a lot of different situations to actually rebalance a wine that could be a little overripe or underripe, for example, or for wine that needs more mid-palate or complexity that works well. And it's a pretty natural approach, just adding more tannins to grape tannins to wine. Secondly, I want to quickly talk about soft tannination. So soft tannination is a blend between French oak tannins and plant polysaccharides. It decreases astringency perception, but also if you have any off aromas or bread taint, for example, this is pretty interesting. So on this graph, you will see that we did different analysis and different tasting with a wine that was impacted by volatile phenols, so bread taint. And actually adding this tannin to the wine increased the sensory threshold. That means that if you have a high sensory threshold of the volatile phenols, that means that you have a lower perception of this bread taint. So every time it works on any grape variety, using this tannin is actually masking very well the off aromas and the volatile phenols. So it can be very useful if you have any off aromas or any one you would like to adjust. This is a tannin that works well in this kind of situation, but not only. To me, it also helps to ripen wines, red, rosé, or whites. So you can use it pre-bottling, 2 to 10 grams per hectoliters. Also, always better to compare and to try it at different dosage. And then just a few words about oak tannins. So when we talk about oak tannins, there is a lot of variability, just like when you're choosing barrels. So different wood types and toast levels create different impacts on the wine. So we have 4 different heat, 4 different toast levels for 4 different impacts on the wine. So untoasted oak tannin, like the tannin sense volume, will be the most effective on redox potential buffer. That means that your wine will be more protected against oxidation, but also reduction. It also reinforces the volume, boosts the fresh fruit sensation without adding any oak aromas. Compared to lighter toast, like the Tannin Sense Origin, it does add more French oak aromas like vanillin, whiskey lactones. It increases the sweetness and the roughness. So it's really if you want to build up the mouthfeel and add some more oak touch before bottling, for example. Same concept with the Tannin Sense Expression, which is medium toast. So it feels more the mid-palate and has more toasted aromas like almonds, cocoa, toffee aromas. And higher toast is very useful to bring freshness, more, for example, eucalyptus, menthol, aromas to a wine, to more complexity, and it lifts the darker fruit profile. So using tannin not only helps to build the structure, but it also helps to increase the longevity, meaning that different tannins have a different reactivity with oxygen. So on this graph, you are looking at the oxygen consumption rate of different tannins. So you'll see garlic tannins, grape seeds, grape skin, quebracho, acacia, etc. And we see that the oak is the most reactive with oxygen. It scavenges oxygen radicals and buffer redox potential. So it does improve wine longevity and capacity to be protected against oxidation over time. In our situation, we would suggest using the untoasted oak tannin, which is our Tannin Sense volume. So it has one of the highest rate of oxygen consumption compared to our other tannins, such as skin tannins, Vinyl Advanced, Protannin R, or tannin or garlic tannin. We suggest using the Tannin Sense volume because this one won't have any impact on aromas perception and not too much on astringency. So it will be a soft tannin, but it will help for wine longevity, making sure your wine won't be impacted by oxidation. So you can use, for example, this tannin at every transfer from around 5 grams per hectoliters every time you're doing a transfer or just before bottling to make sure your wine will have a good redox potential. And then if you want to build wine phenolic structure and stability, we suggest using the Tan Excellence, which is a blend between untoasted oak tannins and grape tannins. So it's actually do both. Very versatile. You can use it during aging from 1 to 5 grams per hectoliters. Our products, they have very low dosage because they are very effective. So I think that's a great point. Even at 1 gram per hectoliters, you can see that it's very effective for stability and oxygen protection. So just to sum up all the products I've been talking about, so the tannins, the polysaccharides such as sublicens, mannocens, so it shows how you can use them. For example, if you want to improve the structure but having no impact on flavors, you can use the Tannin Sense volume or forte. So this can be useful if you're using our finishing tannins or polysaccharides for you to understand more the products. We have some documents like this. I can let you read. So according to the challenge on your wine, we have different solutions. So this is just to help you to navigate better our solutions and different tools winemaker can have. For example, if you have a light wine but with good structure, good tannins, but that needs a little bit more weight and length, you can use tannin sense volume, an untoasted oak tannin, or tannin sense expression. So there are a lot of different possibilities. We offer little kits like this, so it's very easy to use. It's just droppers. You can use on 50 milliliters of wine and you have a direct result. Everything is on our website. So if you want to do bench trial setup, we have technical sheets to help you to create your bench trials. If you want to send us some wine samples, we're very happy to taste in our lab or test with you and send you back some samples or results of what we think could be improving the wine or removing something you don't want in your wine. So I invite you to go on our website, and we also have something that is called Choose Your Tannins. So it's just a little app that helps you to navigate and choose the right tannin. So everything is on our library on bvnorthamerica.com.